Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to sing a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars, and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes, the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Do you want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We have with us today a returning guest, Jody Williams, from the organization called Sex Workers Anonymous. Jody is an advocate she's an ex-madam, so she knows everybody. She knows like Heidi Fleiss and Jennifer Palfrey. And she knows everybody. Dennis Hoff. We've had her on several times. She's really in the know on these topics here. And she runs sexworkersanonymous.net right now, trying to rescue women who are victims of sex trafficking. So, Jody Williams, you're there, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you remind the audience who is Jody Williams?
Yeah, briefly. I mean, I was a madam back in the day, in the 80s in Los Angeles, which was also during Iran-Contra, which is how I kind of became aware of the bigger picture on prostitution, involved with our government. Because in 84, they came down on all of us. You can see that if you go on Google. You'll see every madam in the country got busted, our assets seized, et cetera. So that's how I got nicknamed the high-tech madam, is when they busted me, which was a false arrest. They found a lot of computer surveillance equipment, et cetera, which is because I'd set up the first screening service trying to provide security for us. And then, they put me on probation, so I decided to go straight and realized how difficult that was to go straight. And that's why I set up the hotline in the group, the 12-step group, Sex Workers Anonymous. I thought, if addicts are getting out of jail by going to treatment, why can't we get the same option? But then there wasn't any option. So we set it up, and that's how we got started, doing what we do.
Okay. Now, we're just talking off the air for like a good 20 minutes because there's so much going on. You have so much information. One thing I've always wanted the audience to know about is a local case, this Shane Valentine case. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'll try, but it's hard without giving context or background.
Okay.
So that's what I was trying to say, to put it into a context or background so that like how I perceive it in a sense, because this all of this goes back in my opinion to the 2007. It was a very pivotal point in time with the Operation Dollhouse case, and what that was the first time that money was coming out to aid trafficking victims. And, the Salvation Army came to me and said, we've got so much money we want to allot to Nevada, and we want you to help Nevada trafficking victims. And I spoke to the representative and said, I hope you're aware of one thing, because they also told me they could not get anyone else but me to work in Nevada. And that's kind of why they were stuck with me, ha, 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 And I said, well, the reason why you're stuck with me and why nobody else will work in the trafficking area in Nevada is because, you are aware that if I'm helping trafficking victims in Nevada, that means that I'm going to be going up against judges and, city council and metro officers and sheriffs, et cetera. So, you need to be prepared for that. And they were like, well, we don't believe you. Prove it. And I said, okay, I'll prove it. Have your guys at this address on this date. I said, there will be San Mateo sheriffs making a drop, as part of a national network of, trafficking that's going on. And you'll catch your guys and, get the women out of there who cannot get out of that house any other way. And you'll have your rescue and, it'll prove that we need to change the system. Because currently the system is working with the police. However, that's not getting the women that are under the police out of this system. So that's why the police bring them in and they don't say anything and they won't cooperate, is because they know the people trafficking are sitting right there in the office with them. So part of that whole thing with Operation Dollhouse was that was the first time trafficking victims were supposed to be brought not to the police station, but to a separate location. So those victims were brought to the Salvation Army. Now, I was literally on my way down to the Salvation Army to meet these women, thinking that we're kicking off this big program and this big change, yada, yada. Next thing I know, I'm getting there and I'm being told that the women have literally been sent back home and this thing's being buried under the rug. I did not expect. I found out that Metro had cut a check for $370,000 to the Salvation Army to quote-unquote restructure their program, which meant get rid of me, act like you don't know me, and bury this under the rug. So in my opinion, Salvation Army sold out those women, including a pregnant juvenile, because there was a pregnant juvenile in those women that they rescued that day. Now, as part of burying me and, trying to make the whole thing go away, they had to sort of replace me, because there'd been all the, money had just been given, almost $1 million grant had just been given in Nevada to set up a trafficking program. Well, what are they going to do now that they've gotten rid of me and are acting like they don't know me? Well, they grabbed this Annie Lambert, who's got the IQ of a Pomeranian, and will basically do anything you tell her to do as long as you give her a check at the end of the thing. And, she runs this thing called Hookers for Jesus. She'll do anything for fundraising that you tell her to do. And, got her to be like the so-called survivor of the program when she was never trafficked a day in her life. But again, she just does what she's told to do.
Hey, can I interrupt you there for a second?
Brought in Chris Ballman.
Can I interrupt you there for a second? Because I saw Annie one night on the news, walking up and down the strip with a news crew saying, we're here looking for women who possibly could be trafficked so we can rescue them. And I
It's exactly funny, isn't it?
And wait,
I died laughing when I saw this. Like,
and I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack, and I sent her a message, and to the news station, and I says, "Hey, I got a girl right here who has a mental illness, who's being pimped out on the street, and we're trying to desperately. Every time she comes into contact with the police, she gets arrested. Can you help her?" I found one for you.
What did she say? I'm dying to hear.
What? It was it was definitely no help. It was definitely no, hey, send her over. None of that. So people know what the hell I went through trying to get help for that kid. She's dead today. And people know what I went through here.
Oh, my God. I wish you and I known each other because I'll tell you what, I just got a call. See, I think this has to do with the attack on my door the other day because I gotten a call from a USA Today reporter asking me about Annie Lambert, and I'm like, why? Because when she got caught in that whole bankruptcy scandal and ran off to Africa, I thought pretty much everybody knew she was full of, and evidently, somebody had gotten a $2 million grant that was a legitimate program for trafficking victims, and then they yanked it away and gave it to Annie. So this reporter is saying that there's a lot of people in Washington really upset by this and wanting to know what I know about it. And I said, well, if you ask me, again, from past experience, remembering 2007, is they put Annie Lambert in charge of things when they want a face on something that doesn't ask questions. Yeah. So obviously, so she said she's looking for people that have had experience with her. I'll have her give you a call, to verify that she doesn't do anything. It's all fluff. She puts on a show, but she doesn't actually, help anyone.
Yeah, there's no shortage of victims out there that you need to walk up and down with a news crew on the strip looking for victims. There's no shortage of people who are looking for help in this town. You can just stand out in front of the jail when they're releasing people at 3 a.m. and come across 10 girls a day who are in crisis looking for help. Anyway, so...
Well, you know what her game is? She promises that she's going to help them. She takes them to her church. She parades them in front of the church, gets the churchgoers to cut checks, and then she cuts them loose and says, God will provide. They wind up on my doorstep, and I'm the one having to actually take care of them because, she's, promised them help. They don't know what's going on, and that's why, I've gone to lawyers researching what I can do about this because I keep winding up with people that she's promised to help. And I go to her and I'm like, look, you're getting all this money, but I'm doing all the work here. Something's got to give. And she just, completely cuts me off and won't speak to me. And it's pissing me off, frankly,
Well, let's not get too distracted on Annie. Where else were we? Because there's a lot more involved in all this than just her.
Oh, well, they also brought in Chris Ballman, the Metro cop at that time. And he's the new, poster child of sex trafficking that they promoted to cover up my absence, which I give a lot of credit to George Knapp. Because George Knapp was like, what is, because he saw the quick shift of burying me and bringing in Chris Ballman and Annie Lambert. So he started investigating. And, and of course, at the time, me talking about this national ring of cops and chairs involved in pimping women and drugs, sounded completely insane. And of course, the rumor was Jody's just paranoid and lost her mind, right? That's what everybody was saying at the time. She's just lost her mind. Well, George went out and started investigating and knocking on doors. And I had mentioned to him how suspicious this grant was that went to the Olympic Gardens strip club. Why on earth would Las Vegas give $50,000 to a strip club to buy a new sign? And this, mind you, was the same city council that I'd gone to, and I'd asked for money for an interpreter so that I could go in, to more of these massage parlors with women don't speak English and, try to get them some help because I don't speak Mandarin or Korean, and I need some help translating. So, I asked them, for a grant to get a translator to come in with me and a police officer, and they refused me, but they gave a sign to the Olympic Garden. So that, of course, got his attention and got him to start investigating what was going on with the club. And so through his own research, he broke, a series of articles in 2017, basically all hell broke loose, where he did validate, what I was saying about this network of officers where evidently they were hanging out, after hours. One of the clubs is Olympic Gardens. And then there's another one I know that's owned by a police officer, here in town that they use like a social club. But, these are guys.
People need to understand, people not from Vegas need to understand that these giant clubs are multi-million-dollar operations. They're making millions per month. They're huge financial operations. Cops do get in for free. Cops are allowed in for free.
Mm-hmm.
That goes on galore. And not to us, are you familiar with this Lawrence Renetti case going on out here? This cop?
No, that's not ringing a bell.
Okay, it's a smaller one. It's a new one. He had a girlfriend that he was supplying with meth and stuff like that. And there was another cop just recently who got arrested for soliciting on Facebook. And he's friends with Lombardo, and he hired David Chesnoff.
See, I've been out of the loop because I'll tell you how I got sucked into this and found out myself. Is back in 2006, I did not realize that I was being targeted in 2006 by these officers. They had evidently used their intelligence to find out that I was an ex-madam. And, yes, they're cops, and then they have these prostitutes that they were recruiting out of the jail, but they didn't have any madams to help them run things. Okay, so evidently they decided that they wanted to recruit me. So what they did was, it sounds really crazy, but, again, my ex-husband verified this. They got in between me and him. They started targeting me, sent a guy in after me. They call it a sweetheart con, where a guy comes in sweet-talking you. And, all of a sudden my husband just disappears. I find out later that they had been sending him letters and also sending letters supposedly for me claiming I wanted a divorce, basically getting in between my marriage. They got me fired. They got me evicted. And at the time I didn't know what was going on. So to get me, financially strapped. And then this guy comes in acting like, my knight in shining armor. And of course he starts, he knows that I'm in recovery, so he's going to meetings with me. He's taking me to barbecues, and introducing me to all his cop friends. So I'm thinking he's this really nice guy with cop friends. And he spent almost a year essentially, getting to know my family, getting to know my daughter, really sort of ingratiating himself into my life. And then he knew what's really going on. Once he figured he was really well ingrained in there. And also knew where everybody in my family lived, and my daughter went to school. And, because this is how they operate. They find out everything about you so that you feel that you've got no way out, essentially. And then they sort of pop on you what's really going on. So, there were these barbecues that to the outside world look like it's just a bunch of, guys in law enforcement that are getting together with their girlfriends in the park, kind of a thing. But they don't realize that this is how they call it grooming, where you're getting comfortable, you're off guard, you're getting to know people. I mean, I had no idea what was really going on as I'm getting to know these people, not until we're all sort of they're in my life essentially, and they know everything about me, and then I'm, oh, by the way, and then as I, get hit with, this is what we want you to do. And I'm like, are you kidding? I mean, I left this. I have a small child. I'm not going back to this. And then I got hit with, oh, no, everything's set. You'll never go to jail because control over the jail. And that's when they were showing me how everything is set up through the police, judges, everything was to try to convince me that I would never go to jail if I got involved with these people. And in trying to get away from them myself, I'm realizing how are these victims getting away also. I was able to, relocate, hide myself, get my mother. My mother had to sell her house to get away from these people. My mother literally had to sell her house so I could get her to safety. I had to change my daughter's school. I mean, I had to go through all this stuff in order to get, physically safe. This is why I'm saying, we need to set up a separate system to get away from these people. And then, this is what I'm saying. So at the time, I knew the whole network intimately because they were trying to recruit me. Now, obviously, with Operation Dollhouse, and they realized that I was trying to help the women get out from under them, all hell's breaking loose at that point, and I'm declared public enemy number one, and then they're trying to kill me. So, I'm not in the same position with them that I was before.
And even till today, you live in fear till even till today, right?
I'm sorry?
You live in constant fear even until today.
Absolutely. I mean, just last November, you know that they spent 2 cops showed up at my door trying to tear down my door without a warrant. And a couple of days ago, cops were at my door for half an hour trying to literally shove in my security door with no warrant, no reason for being there. I have no idea why they're trying to get through my door. I can only, extrapolate if there's no warrant and no legitimate reason. They're trying to get in to kill me. That's the only thing I can think of.
And you said, when we were talking about that before, you think that that's connected to the Shane Valentine case?
Well, the incident a couple of days ago, again, I don't think they just randomly decided to go through my door. So I go online and I'm looking online and I see, like I said, these hearings coming up with the judge. And I'm thinking, obviously somebody maybe is a little worried that I'm going to show up and say something. Maybe they were trying to make sure I didn't appear. That's what I'm making a guess about as to what it could be. Because, it's more than the judge that's involved in this whole thing. And the judge isn't an innocent victim either. I mean,
well, then,
like I was telling you off air, she's got this bogus warrant she issued on my ass. So she's not an innocent victim here.
A couple of things, Jody. You've got to watch our language because we're going to be on AM radio. And keep in mind, too, that even people locally here in Vegas are not that familiar with the Shane Valentine case. And people forget it in California, Nevada, and Utah. They haven't heard of that at all. So give it what happened with the Shane Valentine pimp.
Well, I don't, and again, I don't know if what I'm hearing is true. Okay. I mean, I don't know all of it, yada, yada. I just know that, here are these cops that, and to give more context, you have to look back at time that at one point in time, Oscar Goodman was trying to bring in a brothel a legal brothel to where the Mom Museum now sits. He was on a big campaign to bring in a legal brothel. So he was, courting investors. Now, at the time, he was also getting Metro in behind this, the Metro officers behind this, because he had the Metro officer that also owned, again, this strip club. So, he's working with Dennis Hoff. He's working with Lance Gelman. He's, the brothel owners. He's also working with the strip club owners.
Dennis Hoff is a retired cop as well, former cop.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so they speak the same language. I mean, and, Goodman was on a really big campaign that I was in the way of, essentially, to bring in this legal brothel. So what am I saying? So you got to realize at this time, this is what they were planning on doing. They were planning on opening this legal brothel, and the men were getting involved, but they weren't thinking that if they're in that energy, if they're in that thought process of, and bringing these kind of people around, that these people are going to target their daughters.
Right.
They weren't contemplating, you start bringing pimps around that, they're going to go after your daughter. That's what they didn't plan on. And that's what started this whole thing, is that they were just planning on opening a business, but they didn't think with your daughter, and so all of a sudden you've got FBI guys and Metro, cops and sheriffs all of a sudden finding that their daughters are being lured into, the illegal prostitution by these pimps, of which Shane Valentine was one of these pimps. Now, my understanding is that the judge did something to try to frame this pimp of her daughter on a murder charge. I don't know what went wrong. I mean, I'm only going on gossip I'm hearing.
Because the judge's daughter was involved in prostitution with this pimp, Shane Valentine, who, by the way, was running like a nightclub out of like a clothing store or something like that. He had a full-blown nightclub, unlicensed.
Well, it was down in Chinatown. I saw it. I actually saw it one day because I like to eat at Chinatown. And I know a prostitution operation when I see one, right? So I remember seeing that and joking with my daughter about, hey, look at that, I mean, because that's obviously what they were doing. But they were not just using the little white girls from Vegas. I saw some of the Asian girls, being brought in there too. So they were obviously doing some business with the triad, or they wouldn't have been allowed to operate out of Chinatown. That's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's what they were doing. They had the front during the day that looked like it was, stores down there in Chinatown. And then at night, you'd hear the music going and the club would open, and they'd bring in their girls.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like right under their nose. There's so many different kind of licensing and enforcement, code enforcement, all kinds of stuff you got. You can't just open up a nightclub, forget it. I had a nightclub in New York. We had a legal nightclub. We got shut down.
Well, that's why when I saw it, I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, they got to have some triad friends or that wouldn't be happening,
Okay, we're going to have to take a commercial break, but is there anything else about that Shane Valentine story you want to share with us before we break?
Well, I just think it is a little dangerous when you've got a judge that thinks she can just issue warrants against somebody she's pissed at like she did with Shane, yeah.
Right. Okay. And that was another thing, too, where the police were involved in this operation and there were no arrests being made and it was allowed to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And Shane has a murder warrant out for him now? A murder conviction?
I don't know. Like I said, I only know rumors. It's supposedly yes. But, I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I had that phony warrant that she signed against me also.
And how is that, you have an open case with that now? Has that been cleared up?
I didn't have a choice. Okay. I was hauled in front of a judge on this bogus warrant, that this Judge Melanie had issued for me, supposedly, on a complaint I never even seen, never got served with, nothing. And I got told that if I pleaded not guilty, I was going to be held over for trial, yada, yada. But, again, no contest. I got let go. I had a juvenile age sick daughter at home. What am I going to say? I'm going to say no contest to get my ass out of there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that the other day, too. A statistic came out that 70% of people in the jails, the local jails, haven't been convicted of anything yet. And when you think of how many people have to plead guilty, because you have to go to work. You got to, you can plead guilty, they'll let you walk right out the door. If not, they're going to hold you for a month until your next court appearance. Could be 3 months. So
my daughter was at home in Tonopah, which is 8 hours away from Las Vegas, by herself. I had been held in custody 3 weeks without bail because it was a warrant. I had to get back to my daughter. I had no choice. Right. They told me, plead no contest, get out today. Fine, no, I'm out of here,
It's not always a child. Many times it's a child at home that needs to be cared for, but it was even your pets. You got to go home and feed your pets, or you got to go home.
I got 2 dogs and a cat. Yeah.
You'll get fired the next day if you don't show up for work the next morning. So many people.
Oh, if I had a job, I would have been fired because they weren't letting me out on any bail because it was the warrant that she had issued on me.
So many of these cases where you see people plead guilty and they have a conviction, it's because of exactly that type of situation. You can plead guilty and walk right out. Or if you don't plead guilty, you're sitting there, could be 3 months waiting for your next hearing, which could, again, be another 3 months after that. So we're going to be right back.
And here's my options. I go to a lawyer about it, and he tells me that when I get out, he says, if you go back in and get it overturned and contest this thing, he said, you're liable to get them so pissed that you contested it, they'll throw the book at you.
That's another thing,
so it was better to leave it alone.
Right, because if you go to trial on these kind of cases, even if you're not guilty and you have a decent lawyer, you'd be lucky if you get a decent lawyer, in this town especially. You can be facing 5 years on something stupid. Anyway, let's keep going. We're with Jody Williams, who runs the organization SexWorkersAnonymous.net. She's advocating for women being trafficked and caught up in this lifestyle and trying to get them out. Jody's the real deal. She has all this information. I found her by accident. It's not like she's a frequent flyer, does all these radio shows and stuff like that. She's pretty much a homebody. And we found each other by accident, and really knows what she's talking. Yeah. So it's not like either one of us was inserted into the other one's life. It was a total random introduction. So we'll be right back with more of Jody Williams after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
Hey, you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Jody Williams, who runs sexworkersanonymous.net. I would encourage people, too, to go back and find we did 2 previous shows where we get into all her information about Iran-Contra, be involved with sex trafficking and human trafficking there as well. And also, too, we even exposed a woman who's out there, Jessica Collins, who claimed that she was actually also kind of wild claims about being involved with Jeffrey Epstein and stuff like that, who had come to both of us independently. And we pretty much compared notes and concluded that it was pretty much a hoax. So, Jody Williams, you also wanted to talk about, now, you go way back with Jeannie Palfrey, the D.C. madam, correct?
Yeah, one thing before I forget, when you're talking Shane Valentine, were you aware about the 2 murders in that case?
When I first heard about the case, I was in shock with this whole story. The judge's daughter and cops looking the other way in this illegal nightclub. I do recall there was a murder charge, but I didn't know how it turned out.
Yeah, evidently, the story that I understand it from the reporter that has been trying to get to the bottom of it is George Knapp was getting in so much heat over this that evidently bounced over to this guy, Doug Papa. So in Baltimore, so he's been following up on it, who's an ex-CIA analyst. So he's slick. He's actually been getting to the bottom of this, by building up a relationship with her. And he found out that there's a story that he did where he said that she had been trying to conceal that she was acting as an informant. And evidently, one of the Metro cops blurted out that he was getting his information from her, so that this pimp then ordered the hit on her and her daughter. But supposedly 2 other people got killed. It says Connie Land and daughter Sydney were both found murdered, shot in the head in their Las Vegas apartment on October 27th. So, there's something going on there, because even you would think that the cop who blurted out something that resulted in 2 people getting murdered might not necessarily be a good cop to keep on the force. He gets transferred over to homicide. So I called a consultant on our board, I know, who's an ex-cop, and said, what do you think about this? And he's like, it sounds like a cover story to me, because, somebody had done something, bungled something so badly, 2 people got murdered. They don't generally transfer them to homicide, it just, the whole thing, I mean, even why they called off the agent, Kevin White, because this is what disturbs me, is that there are people getting murdered behind this story, not just these two. There are a lot of people getting murdered. And again, I'm still living in fear of my life because this whole thing is not being dealt with. And, when I saw that there was an FBI agent, Kevin White, coming in to investigate, I think, oh, good, maybe something's going to be done so I can sleep in peace at night, so I can, just simply go to the store without, worrying that I'm going to get shot in the head and some cop's going to claim something, I resisted arrest or something, or another false arrest where we've found like Jeffrey Epstein, tying into Jeff Epstein as a case in point, because he's not the first person that has been found dead under suspicious circumstances at all, which is why I have a reasonable fear here that I might be, next. And then they call him off the case, and so I just wonder, what is it going to take so that a lot of people can sleep easy at night? Because there are a lot of murders that are going unchecked here, and nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, look at the length that Jeff Epstein's brother had to go to. And what sort of got me angry is that if we'd done something about Jeannie Palfrey's death, maybe things might not have got that far. Because that's why I was telling you, like, why is nobody even noticing that this is connected to Jeannie Palfrey's murder? In my opinion, she was murdered, and the reason why she didn't have a rich brother that could go to, Michael Baden and get a second opinion, because when her mother started saying, well, wait a minute, this was, not right, she started getting threatened. And she asked me, please back off of this, because, of course, I started getting pretty upset and wanting to go to the press and rattle some cages. And she asked me to back down because she was being threatened over it. So, I had to sort of respectfully back down until her mother passed away about the whole situation. But no, Jeannie Palfrey was murdered for a lot of the same information and hiding a lot of the same things that, is possibly what went behind, Jeff Epstein's murder, and possibly even Brandy Britton and Sylvia Landry. I mean, there's a chain of people that are connected with this operation that I'm talking about, that the police are connected with it, because the police are just the watchdogs of this thing. There is a very large international sex trafficking operation of which the police are just sort of, I call them the guard dogs. And it's been going on since the 80s. I saw it when I was in the game. I'm still seeing it now, and it's still the same system. Different people, but the same system. And some of the old timers, like Epstein and like Palfrey, this is where I'm, again, getting nervous as I keep seeing all of us old timers. I think Dennis Hoff might have even been offed. He was not that sick and not that old. And when I see that his best friend, Anthony, that pilot, died a few weeks later under mysterious circumstances, it tends to make me think I'm right about his death being a little strange, too. So, I mean, there's just a lot of people that know a lot about this operation that just seem to be, coming up dead under really strange circumstances.
Well, let's stop for a second there. A couple of things. One is, you mentioned the CIA a couple of times. Now, just recently, this gentleman who was the boyfriend of Jessica Collins, he wrote a post on Facebook saying that he was at CIA headquarters. What was that about?
Probably is. Probably is. It's certainly their tactics to create disinformation, like this Jessica chick.
Right. And he's the one that's been posting around saying, defending her. Is this the same guy who she claims abducted her?
She claims abducted her, claims is her handler, claims pays her bills every month.
Right.
And it's been coming after me, but that's what the CIA has been doing for years, is trying to discredit me. So he probably is CIA.
So the story is, the official story is, she comes out and says she was abducted by this guy. She's still living with him, and he's paying her bills, and that now he comes out and saying, "Oh, I know the whole story is true. I'm her witness." It's all things crazy. So let's move on from that. What do you know about a connection between Epstein and Palfrey in real life? Let's get back to reality. What do you know about Epstein and Palfrey connection?
Well, if you understand why I think she was murdered, you'll start to see the connections. Okay. I mean, she had decided, and if you know her history, she had gotten arrested about 91, because what happened was when after Heidi Fleiss went through her, court stuff, that's when Jeannie Palfrey sort of stepped to sort of take over the game, and she, does start targeting Washington because she wanted, the higher class clients. And and as she starts, about 91, she really kind of wanted to quit about 91. And what happened is she went into the antiquing business. And so what happens is she gets a guy who starts sort of like, recruiting her back in the business, sort of like befriending her. And this is how they approach you. They approach you as a client, then they become a friend. They don't say they're CIA. At the beginning, they say they're your friend. And that's what they do. Again, sort of this sweetheart deal. Mm-hmm. So this guy comes in, befriends her, starts, saying, expand here. Why don't you try advertising there, and reminding her about her sick mother and, kind of, pitching her just and getting to know her and befriending her and just for a little while. And then starts revealing slowly, that he's connected with the government and basically telling her, hey, for a little bit extra money, I'd like some information on the clients and, why not, pick up some, it's harmless. We're just revealing a little bedroom information for some money, not a big deal. And so, starts this sort of debriefing cycle with her that she starts noticing. After a couple of years, she gets pretty set. She's got enough money in the bank to retire, and she decides that, she wants out. So she starts looking for property in Germany, and because she realizes she's not going to be able to live here in the States because of what she knows. So that's when they start getting nervous because of what they want her to do. Now, this is when they again start escalating her into not just getting information, but actually wanting her to do specific assignments and having the women manipulating the clients essentially for deals that they've got going on, as well as targeting specific customers, essentially using her escorts as operatives. I guess, I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
So she's being basically used as an arm of the CIA. And she's getting very nervous. And then the final straw for her came when Brandy Britton got murdered. One of her women, she got busted on some deal, and before she could shoot her mouth off, another one found hung in her living room. That's when she's like, I got to get out of here, because people are obviously nervous what she's going to say about what she knows. So she was literally at the airport. This is not broadcast a lot, but you can find it when you dig, deep enough, because she says that she was actually trying to quit the business and leave the country and get the hell out of here. Mm. And she was at the airport, when they arrested her. And it was really one of those last-minute things where it was basically, again, fear of what she was going to say. Her arrest was trying to get her to shut up. So when they realized she wasn't going to shut up, they disbarred her lawyer. They seized her assets. I mean, they're basically just trying to get her to go back into her position.
Man, ultimately, her lawyer was disbarred. Her lawyer was ultimately disbarred.
Again, they figured if they got rid of her lawyer, that they'd, scare her into going back into her corner and doing what she's supposed to be doing. Now, where I got under their radar, their list is, they become aware that I'm friends with her and I'm talking to her every day. And I warned her that they were going to come after her mother because, they didn't have a case. This was being manufactured same way as me to put pressure. So I warned her that they were going to do to her what they did to me, which was go after her mother and try to, use her mother to threaten her into compliance. So what happened was, because of my warning, they had a lawyer literally with her mother when evidently they came up the driveway. And there was some big show off between, the prosecutor and the mother's lawyers, and evidently they decided that no, it would not be very good press to throw this sick 91-year-old woman, into jail, especially when they knew that I had tipped it off. This was a tactic. So they decided it'd be really bad press, but that's when they got really mad at me. Now at the very end there, of course, they handed her the guilty thing, thinking that the guilty verdict would again make her just shut up and go back and do what she was told. And that's when she told me that, no, she really felt that she knew so much about this trafficking operation that was going on, connected again with the government and the way that they use sex for their political, mission, she really didn't think that she was ever going to get out alive unless she said something. So at that point, supposedly she'd won the $1 million grant from Larry Flint with the black book blogs. Now, this is the thing. They're talking about ABC with Epstein. This is nothing new. I got tipped off about ABC over the Johnny Ghosh case, which is the Omaha Franklin case from back in the 90s over that Omaha Franklin case with the children and the sex trafficking. One of the mother of Johnny Ghosh had come to me warning me that ABC had run off with a lot of her documentation and not to trust them. So when ABC, was coming up to Jeannie, I warned her, don't, give them everything, or, let's come up with a backup or something. And the plan was, well, we'll go ahead and give them the black books, but we're going to give backups to 10 different websites, one of them being the Smoking Gun. And I watched ABC get up and lie and initially say there were no names of any significance in this book until the Smoking Gun stepped up and said, yeah, not true. And then, basically took them to task. So they've done this before. They run off with evidence before. They've lied before. So they've been covering, before. And ABC's a big network when you think about it. So this is frightening that they've been covering up that I'm aware of since clear back in the 80s, But it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same operation. It's the same thing. I mean, you can see little evidence of this. Believe it or not, there's a film, Charlie Wilson's War, where they show that the senator was using strippers to make oil deals. I mean, yeah, this has been going on for a long time, that our government is using, strippers, prostitutes, porn stars, whatever, to make deals. But what they're not saying is the darker side of this, is that sometimes these requests get into children. Sometimes it gets into, other things that just, aren't that cool. It really shouldn't get out to the press. And when you provide those things and you're, aware, of these deals going on, then you become dangerous to these people. And a lot of people that are aware of this going on have been winding up so-called suicides. And we just witnessed this with Epstein. It was first written off as suicide, and anybody who said it was murder was called a conspiracy nut until, his family was in a financially strong enough position to do something about it. But when Jeannie was murdered, in my opinion, like I said, and her mother started to say, like, no, this was murder, because that night she'd gone to her mother to protect her mother, and in fear because she had been followed by someone all the previous day. So she went there in fear to protect herself and her mother. And she had told me that she was not going to leave the house that night at all, because we were worried that they were going to lure her out of the house and murder her, which is what they did. She was found in the back shed. And the coroner's report that they didn't release for years, revealed that there was bruising around her lower legs. So, I mean, this is a woman who was killed because she was getting ready to reveal what was going on the darker side of what our government was doing with children, essentially. I mean, who cares if some oil guy gets a stripper? That's not something that you kill people to hide anything about. And you don't need an island where there's no laws regarding, statutory rape unless you're bringing out children. I mean, that's the only reason that you need an island where international, laws don't apply, so to speak, on the age. And this is another reason why Nevada has been involved in this for a long time. It's because our age of sexual consent for a long time has been 15, So this is how the brothel owners got involved with this back in the 70s, is you could bring a 16-year-old legally for sex here into Nevada. I mean, so this has been going on for a long time.
Jody, we have about 5 minutes left. Do you want to get out most importantly?
Well, there's a machine in this country that is involved in sex trafficking and is murdering people and is covering it up. And we currently don't have any sort of check and balance system to do anything about it. And that has got a lot of people living in fear of their lives. And something needs to be done about it. I do see Trump trying to do something about it, but he's not getting a lot of help because of all the just, attacks on him just to attack him. But he's going to be out of office soon. I mean, we still need something done to create some kind of safety in this country.
What do you think you see Trump doing to put a stop to this?
Well, I see, like, he's been getting rid of some of the bad apples, and I see him trying to clean up the FBI. I see attempts, but he's like he's shooting in the dark. I just,
name one thing you've seen. Name one thing you've seen him do.
Well, he got rid of a couple of people in the FBI trying to clean out the FBI over this. And he's talking about cleaning house, but unless you put another system in.
He went after someone in the FBI regarding sex trafficking or child trafficking? What was that?
Well, it's not specifically child sex trafficking. This goes on to a lot of areas.
Okay.
But if we don't get the corruption out of this country, it ties in. It's not just child sex trafficking, because it's also involved with drugs. It's also involved with counterfeit stuff and all kinds of crime that's connected. It's all interconnected. We don't have a proper check and balance system right now. Give you an example. This trial coming up with Judge Melanie that's coming up on the 16th, I contacted the committee, and I said I would like to come talk to them about some of the things I know about this judge and show them the warrant that she issued against me illegally. I was told that I would not be allowed to say anything. I would not be allowed to testify, period. And I'm like, well, what kind of hearing is this? This is what I'm talking about, is we have no real system in place here to clean this stuff up.
Okay. All right. So, anything else you want to leave us with?
Well, in the meantime, until we do get a better system, we do have to help ourselves. And yes, people sometimes need help that they can't go to the police for, and that's why the Sex Workers Anonymous hotline exists. So if you need help, and definitely Ed knows that sometimes, yes, we have to help you ourselves, and we are here to help you get out of the situation if you need help.
And that's sexworkersanonymous.net. What about a phone number? You want to give a phone number or a Facebook page?
Sure. I can't remember. The Facebook page is Sex Workers Anonymous, I know. And then, of course, the phone number is 725-205-4725.
Jody Williams, thank you so much, okay? If anything comes up, give me a call, all right?
Thanks for having me, Ed.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Okay, they had Jody Williams from sexworkersanonymous.net. Like I said, she's a local woman here in Vegas who we ran into each other totally by chance and happened to be working on the same type of things here. So there's no way there's any kind of infiltration here or anything like that. So thank you so much, Jody Williams. Got a lot of stuff coming up. I want everybody to keep an eye out for. One thing is, if you're here in Vegas, as a matter of fact, there's an event tonight, right now, called Free Food Share with the Sidewalk Project, and it's between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. this evening. You can find it on Facebook. Food Not Bombs Las Vegas, the Las Vegas IWW, and Water Solidarity are happy to announce that they're in a partnership with the Sidewalk Project. Sidewalk does amazing work on Skid Row and elsewhere in California, so they're excited to be a part of the team out here in Vegas. They're truly an inspirational group, and in addition to food and harm reduction, there will be live music by professional violinist Brandon Summers. They'll also put together the first 200 first aid care packages for folks. Harm reduction services will also be available courtesy of Track B. So they're going to be distributing warm clothing, whatever they can get their hands on. So you can find them on Facebook at, what is that thing called on Facebook? Free Food Share with the Sidewalk Project here in Las Vegas. This evening, December 6th, between 5 and 7 p.m. at the Care Complex in Las Vegas. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
now a word from our sponsors. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? Do you want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
Hey, you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.